I'm on Lake Kissimmee again. The FWC can't seem to stop poisoning this poor lake. This will be the third video that I have done on this lake in just the last 4 months. Today, Scott Wilson and I are going to take you to North Cove. The FWC has been spraying this cove for the past 3 weeks, and we have had reports of up to 7 spray boats are being used every single day. We couldn't believe it. The first boat we came across was chasing an endangered snail kite. It only flew 50 feet before it landed into another tree right next to a second snail kite. This was odd that it only flew a short distance because airboats are incredibly loud. This bird should have flown a mile away. The spray boat continued to douse the shoreline with poison, and when it got close to the 2 kites, they took to the air again. One of the kites just circled around and landed right back into the same tree. He continued another 100 feet down the same shoreline and came across a small bird. Watch as he sprays this poor creature. Then he blasted it with his prop wash. The boat spun around and went back and sprayed the same shoreline again. The whole time the snail kite watched it from his perch. When he got close to it, the snail kite took off again, and just like before, it only flew a short distance. Then he blasted the snail kite with his prop wash, just like he did the small bird. Unbelievable. Scott and I both noticed that the kites up here were not looking very healthy. We saw one that was missing feathers and appeared to have holes in its wings. We watched it as it tried to catch a snail, but it came up empty-handed. It circled a bit and swooped down on another snail and managed to catch it. It was behind a bunch of cattails, but when we got a good look at it, we noticed that it was having a hard time flying. Watch it as it flies back to its perch. It beats its wings but couldn't get any altitude. It struggled to stay just a few feet above the water. These birds are powerful flyers and should not have any trouble carrying a small snail. These snails are being doused with chemicals, and they have to be slowly poisoning these beautiful birds. What happened next shocked both of us. A young snail kite landed on a branch just 20 feet in front of the boat. I have never had a wild bird of prey get this close to me. I believe it knew we were there to help it. How do the people in the FWC sleep at night? They're the ones that are supposed to be protecting these beautiful birds. FWC, you should be ashamed of yourselves. We caught up with the spray boat just in time to see it spraying lily pads. These are not invasive plants, instead they are very important native plants. There was so much poison in the water that most of these pads were brown and dead. In case you're wondering, this is what healthy lily pads are supposed to look like. We picked up and ran a few hundred yards and found a second spray boat that was showering the lake with poison. The entire shoreline of North Cove was completely dead from 3 weeks of spraying, but they still continued to spray it. All this dead and rotting vegetation is going to sink to the bottom and cover it with a thick layer of mud. The dead plants release nitrogen and phosphorus that was stored in their leaves back into the water, along with all the other chemicals from this spraying. We know now that these nutrients are what feeds algal blooms. We watched this boat spray the exact same spot over and over again. I guess for the FWC, dead is not dead enough. This boat made me dizzy just watching it. It spun around constantly and never shut its nozzle off. Sit back because this boat is going to spray the same area for the next 10 minutes. To look at all this dead and rotting vegetation, you might think there couldn't possibly be anything still alive in all this mess, but you would be wrong. Although all the small critters like frogs, lizards, shrimps, and insects are probably all dead, there are other creatures still living in this floating island of death. Keep your eye on this red circle. There are 2 baby alligators, and he is about to douse them with a contact poison. Then he tries to run them over, but they manage to escape right under the front of his bow. Here is 2 more baby alligators, and they are about to get sprayed also. Just take a look at this nasty, rotting vegetation as he stirs it up. As he makes the turn and goes back through the spot, he blasts another bird minding its own business. He went out of the way to spray this bird. Watch these 2 birds. He tries to spray them, but he can't quite reach them. Don't worry though, he's going to get a few more shots at them. The 2 birds were taking cover under this brush. Let's see what he does. Oh, he got him that time. Then a 3rd bird comes running out of the weeds. Unfortunately, he's not done spraying these 3 birds. He circles around and goes back towards them again. On the way, he sprays another bird. He finally gets back to the 3 birds, and they're not even hiding from him this time. This will be the 3rd time that he's sprayed these poor birds. Unbelievable. Remember the baby alligator? He's going to get them next. That's the 2nd time he sprayed them. Unfortunately, he's not done with them yet. I'll speed the video up because he's going to circle around and get these baby gators one more time. Unfriggin' believable. By now, he has ran out of poison, so it's time to show you how they reload. Watch as this guy on the left pours the poison into the tank. He doesn't use any measuring device, he just pours in whatever amount he wants. They are using Diquat, which has a contact poison, so it will burn his skin if it comes into contact. That's why he has to use rubber gloves. It's too bad the birds and the gators that he just sprayed didn't have any way to protect themselves. The hose you see him lifting out of the water is used to pump lake water in to fill the tank. These chemicals are concentrated, so they use dirty, muddy lake water to dilute these poisons. This muddy water has a negative charge. Then they add the Diquat, which has a positive charge. These 2 immediately bind together and they will never break down and will remain in the environment indefinitely. It is for this reason that the manufacturer warns that Diquat should not be used in muddy water. 40 years of Diquat now sits on the bottom of all of our lakes. Thank you, FWC. With a full tank, it's back to work, and it doesn't take him long before he finds his next victim. He sprays another bird, and check it out as it flies just above his umbrella. Then he chases it down the shoreline, spraying it again. It cuts through the grass and is now up on shore. He gives it one more shot of poison before moving on. He is supposed to be spraying floating plants. Please, FWC, show me where the floating plants are on this shoreline. He approaches another area that has been literally sprayed to death. Even though these plants are obviously all dead, he continues to spray them with more and more poison on top of these plants, adding to the nutrient load on this lake. Watch the area in front of his boat. There are two birds frantically trying to get out of his way. Then he blasts them while they are running away. The label on Diquat says if you get it on your skin, wash for 15 or 20 minutes and then call poison control immediately. I wonder if this bird has the number to poison control. This boat, along with 3 others, continue to spray North Cove, and Lord only knows how many other birds and wildlife got sprayed today. We have to stop this senseless slaughter of our wildlife. Please share this video and help me expose these criminals so we can get this stopped.